start that. And then check the streams. That's there.
Oh, we're twitching.
Yeah, we're twitching.
Oh, we're twitching.
Just not twittering or Xing in these days.
So is it official now?
Yeah, I see the app's now called X.
Okay, so we can't say it. We're tweeting.
I can't tweet anymore. I can only X. As long as it's not exit.
Doesn't sound as nice as
no,
tweeting.
well, this I don't understand. I mean, could you not come up with a better name?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. Still haven't changed the intro music.
Yeah.
One day,
Yeah.
as my friend would say, as Brian, my friend, would say, delayed gratification. Right, there we are. We live and kicking.
That's awesome.
You
That's
see,
awesome.
we've got our, thanks to Oleg, we've got our,
The way you like it.
yeah.
The way you like it.
Right, so let's
Good
just-
afternoon, good morning, and good evening, ladies
yeah,
and
wherever-
gentlemen, wherever you are tuning in from.
Yeah, wherever you're tuning in from. So
Hopefully
yeah,
your couch.
Lester is not in the house. He's got some family responsibilities this weekend, so we're going to fly semi-solo. Just Oleg and myself for a change.
That's cool. That's cool. We've got a lot to unpack. A lot of stuff that actually happened this week. So
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the problem is like I don't know what to focus on. And I must admit, I've been so busy with life that I haven't really been keeping tabs on stuff that's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So-
you kind of like.
So what's on top of your mind?
So on top of my mind is that video that you've actually shared during the week, and the upcoming release of GPT-5, which is going
yeah.
to be like, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I thought they were going to delay that, but it looks like they're going to come out with it.
Yeah,
Which
I've
is
been
cool.
actually watching quite a lot of videos on like YouTube and Twitch to see how people actually using this tech and incorporating on various like aspects of the tech into different workflows and stuff. And it's definitely going to boost productivity in a sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ChatGPT 4's already done it because, I mean, you're using it quite successfully.
Yeah, but I think I'm limited case.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a lot more mainstream adoption.
Yeah, I haven't found the thing that productivity-wise that it's for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do use it occasionally. I use it more in my personal capacity than my work capacity.
I kind of understand why like Google and Microsoft are trying to jump and play catch up in that space because you know with the mainstream adoption of this tech, you know, it has a real potential to kill the search engine.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely.
You know,
because I mean that is the one thing is if I'm doing some research on some coding problem or whatever, I don't go to Google anymore. I go straight to ChatGPT.
and just get an answer.
Yeah,
Just
because
get
I get one answer. I don't get 150.
So basically, time-wise, it's a lot quicker for you to actually
Yeah.
just basically ask for the solution and then basically fine-tune that solution to what you want to do.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm looking for that ding, this thing. Oh my God, this blows my mind. I'm now a millionaire because I'm using ChatGPT to generate income for me. Yeah, I'm always skeptical of these guys. You know, when you go onto YouTube and they say, "Oh, I make $10,000 a month using ChatGPT, using these 5 prompts." But the problem is a lot of the time you still need to have a decent following for it to get traction. Because I mean, I can do this stuff if I've got one follower. That doesn't really help me, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't.
I need an audience.
Yeah.
I need an audience.
So yeah,
Which is not so easy to get.
No,
because,
it's
I mean,
like-
bearing in mind that we're on episode 115, and I think I've got 70 subscribers on my YouTube channel, 5
Well-
of which have been onboarded in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, also the thing is, I've tried the YouTube shorts. Doesn't. I haven't got any traction there. I
What's
wanted to
about TikTok?
Yeah, TikTok is going okay. I mean, I've got on my motorcycle channel, which is obviously not very active at the moment because
Yeah.
I need to look at some historical content so I can at least just create some content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 1,500 followers on there, and I think on my
Wow.
personal one I've got 1,100 or 1,200
Wow.
on my personal one. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
actually
well,
not bad. That's
I don't know. Some people are knocking around at 25,000 followers, 100,000 followers. I mean, it would be nice if I was up there.
I think it's basically a matter of time, right?
Yeah, because I mean, if you're posting a TikTok video, maybe you might get 2 or 3 new followers out of that.
New subscribers, yeah.
Yeah, so work out if you've got 1,000. If you want to get another 1,000 subscribers and you're only getting 3 every time you post, and let's say you were lucky enough to be able to post every day. So
Look,
I mean,
I think you need to be posting a lot more
21
cat
20
videos.
cat videos.
People love cat videos.
Yeah, I know. I need to spend some more time with my cat. Yeah.
But going back to the whole GPT thing, I was watching the intros from Microsoft and from Google. I think Google guys are panicking.
Yeah, I think they're a bit behind the curve, eh?
Yeah, Google guys are panicking and just really trying hard to actually play a catch-up game and at least basically bring their Lambda on par with GPT-4.
Yeah.
Because I tried quite a few basically GPT alternatives,
Sure.
you know.
And how's that going?
It's GPT-4 is still better.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
by a fairly long margin in terms of usability, in terms of like the content, in terms of basically drilling into the content, etc. I was kind of bleak when they basically took away the whole web browsing feature, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah. But I see they got this new thing now. What's it called? The chatbot or something like that. Or
Yeah.
but I see ChatGPT 5 is going to be will scroll the internet with that bot.
Yeah.
That chatbot or
Yeah.
whatever. Sorry, but then they put the disclaimer there that they are going to. What
was
keeps
it?
on beeping?
What is that?
I don't know. It's like almost like something's connecting and disconnecting. I wonder if it can't be my camera because we're still
live.
We're still displaying.
We're still streaming, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I see that they put a disclaimer there that they will protect people's privacy and all that kind of stuff, and you can actually mark your website not to be scraped
Yeah.
by putting something in the header or something like that. Yeah.
And of course that's going to work, you know.
I don't know.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So so I mean, there's a lot happening in the AI space, generative AI. I mean, there are products coming out all of the time.
Can I ask
The
you something?
official,
You've been playing around with the whole machine learning and data analytics space, and it's kind
yeah,
of
not
like,
really. Not
well,
really.
you've been doing some playing around, right? And so like, what happened? Because about 2 years ago, we were all big on data analytics and machine learning, and now that's kind of fell by
This is a bit quiet now.
the wayside.
Yeah. Well, I suppose this is the thing is that what they with these large language models, the likes of ChatGPT, because you can now deploy ChatGPT into your own, and we're looking at it from a workspace point of view.
Yeah.
You can deploy the sort of private ChatGPT into your environment, and you can train it on your data.
Yeah.
And now you can point it at some data. I mean, you can even now you can manually upload a file, but obviously you can't do that with work-related data because of the whole sort of
Privacy thing.
privacy of data.
Yeah, and confidentiality.
IP preservation, all that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, you can upload data and you can ask it, oh, please display this as this graph and that graph, and can you please tell me what the correlation is between this and this, and
Yeah.
you can interrogate that data. So like you don't have to, like you would normally go through it, you would traditionally you would have a data set, a trading data set, and then you would keep a part of that data set as the testing data set, and then you would train your model. You would tell it. Then you would have to decide what is the best algorithm to use.
Mm-hmm.
So you might go through it a couple of times to get the right algorithm, and then you test it. So and then you want to get a confidence level above 75% or 80%.
Yeah.
Is acceptable. So that's quite time consuming. Now you can just take this thing, point it at your data set, and just ask it questions. Obviously, you've got to create the model at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing for me, is because Microsoft because obviously they got a partnership or an agreement or collaboration with OpenAI.
Yeah.
But I did read during the week that they are having some differences in opinion. But anyway, Microsoft has access to the sort of
code base
of ChatGPT from OpenAI, and they're deploying these things as Copilot and Bing and Bing Ask or whatever it's called, and they've also now got this Azure chatbot thing as well. Right.
Okay,
so
but can I ask you, do you think they're basically like, honestly, from your perspective, because you're very heavy in the whole enterprise environment, and do you think they're just basically experimenting and see what clicks in terms of like trying to stick this tech in every single space they could possibly stick it and see what works?
Yeah, look, I suppose that's the one way to. It's almost like crowdsourcing the capabilities of the technology.
Yeah.
So the point I just wanted to make on the last point is that what one needs to remember is that when you deploy the private ChatGPT, if you want to call it that, you still need to train it on your data. And I haven't really heard people speaking about how much crunching power do you need? How much is it going to cost you in the Azure environment?
That's pretty interesting.
Because a lot of these guys say that these large language models take hours and hours and hours to generate the model.
But is it like once off or is it continuous?
Well, I suppose it would have to be continuous, because if you're in an active environment where the data set is changing on a regular basis, you would have to train it.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have to train it from scratch, but you would have to train it on the new data. Or it needs to know that new data is there, and it must incorporate that into its model. So there has to be some processing there. So I'm interested to know what the costs are at an enterprise level if you're using a private ChatGPT solution to integrate your own company data. Like, what's the cost? What's the cost of ownership of that?
But can I ask you, it's like, isn't this like what you guys are looking at in your environment? And that's kind of a question that I would expect you to have an answer to like fairly soon.
Yeah, well, I suppose based on the fact that we're in this sort of recession planning phase, I don't think that stuff will be high on the agenda.
Okay.
But I suppose they'll just keep on moving the dial bit by bit. To be able to do that stuff.
Awesome. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that everything goes well and GPT.
Jeez, I'm pulling amps already. Hey, baby. It's been a busy week, dude.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
It's I'm waiting for the ability to clone myself.
Oh. Can we create a Andrew GPT-5 version?
Yeah.
But
Drew GPT-5.
Can you imagine we're going to be on some stage where we're going to be talking about GPT-10 and how awesome it is?
Oh my god, that's true. It's a scary thought.
Yeah. But sticking to the tech theme, right?
You took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
X. / Twitter. What's happening in that space?
Well, first of all, I wasn't a big Twitter user anyway.
So
I would view the odd tweet or whatever when I'd get a notification for profiles or channels that I'm following, getting notifications on.
So I logged on to X. I haven't been on X for a long time, or
Yeah.
Twitter for a long time. I logged onto it. It was a mundane thing that I had to do. I had to log a call with one of the municipalities, and I just couldn't get through to them via their regular phone number. So I basically sent them a tweet. And funny enough, they responded very quickly. Like within 24 hours, I got the response. The call was logged, and within 48 hours, the issue was addressed.
Okay, cool.
So it was actually pretty cool.
So you can't call it tweeting anymore. What are you going to call it? What's the colloquial?
I'm just gonna say message, right?
Yeah.
Messaging, but tweeting was cool. Tweeting was
Yeah, I don't know.
tweeting was cool. I
Fine.
can't bring myself
Rebrand.
to call it Xing.
Yeah, you know, I'm all for rebranding and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
like for instance, like all these products that we use. Hey, I'm gonna WhatsApp this person. I'm gonna tweet this. I'm going to, like when you're locked in on that already, and all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm changing the application name or whatever, and everyone goes, okay, now when I'm referring to the fact that I'm going to post something, what am I going to say? I X'd it.
You X'd it.
I X'd it.
Okay, so one interesting feature that they've added is the community review notices, right?
Okay.
So like,
How does that work?
I just came across somebody is commenting on Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and I was like, it appeared on my X timeline, and I went to it, and they actually added a disclaimer to the Secretary of State tweet, basically calling him out on what he was saying in the tweet, and putting a reference to his earlier tweets where he said something completely opposite.
That's crazy.
It's just quite funny. So you basically see like this is a community review notice. Our community reported this content as being inaccurate and wanted to add something to it, right? And then they basically included his tweet from last year below that. I don't know.
See, that's
I
a
don't
problem
know.
with.
I don't
That's
know.
a
It's
problem with.
embarrassing. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I suppose. This is the problem with this kind of stuff that gets persisted on the internet is that, like, if you change your opinion, it just creates a.
Hey, dude, like, I can see it's like with the politicians is going to be a big issue because it's like that entire basically timeline is public, right? So you can go back on that timeline. You can go back like a year ago and basically search and find inconsistencies and basically repost those inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And it's up to the person to actually explain it.
Yeah.
And I think U.S. President Secretary got caught out tweeting from his account.
Which they're not allowed to. Or what? What's the rule in the government space?
Well, there's no rule. I'm not sure what the rule is, but previously, as you know, like Trump used to tweet himself.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I follow the guy. Because it was always entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's even more entertaining that he declassified the Roswell files.
Oh, that's interesting.
And how all of a sudden everyone's having a conversation about UFOs.
So like, what's your take? Come on, Andrew.
Well, look, I suppose I was chatting to my daughter
Gentle
about this
transition.
yesterday. No, I was chatting to my daughter about this yesterday, and I was saying, it boggles my mind that in this entire universe / galaxy, whatever you want to call it, is that we are the only like living organisms, if you want to put it that way. I would find it hard to believe that was the case.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, well, yeah, it's quite a thing, Geez, in the whole of the universe, we are the only ones that are living beings. It's a bit bizarre.
Can I comment on this?
Yeah, please do.
That's
why you're here.
What I struggle to like come to terms with is the hypothesis that we are the most intelligent beings in the galaxy.
Yeah, I suppose you can't really.
That I don't buy.
Yeah, sure.
That I don't buy.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
Well, it's only the case
I don't think
if we are the only ones in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say that with certainty that we're the most intelligent species, or I don't know, whatever. But I mean, you're talking about in terms of the species on this earth.
No, I'm talking about universe.
You're talking about the universe.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Yeah. So the interesting thing with the so I'm open-minded about this. I'm not saying yay or nay. Well, I don't believe it or I do believe it. I'm just saying, well,
correction.
I'm open to it. Yeah.
Correction. I don't believe aliens kidnap people and do anal probing.
We'd be so lucky, huh?
No, dude. It's like it's like that was the. I think that's a hoax.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, anything beyond do they exist or not? I mean, everything else for me is just fluff, really.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. And I mean,
Roswell.
obviously I want to see the stuff myself. Then I say, okay, now I believe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, on social media these days, with going back to the generative AI thing, I mean, literally people can create anything that they want.
Absolutely.
So it's visual effects and whatever. So if I see it online, okay, it goes under the category of entertainment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of does this really exist? Well, if it's online, it has to be a really good resource or source of information. But if these unidentified flying objects do exist, well, it would be nice to happen to see one pop into an air show or something like that. And for me to be at the air show at the time would be fantastic.
What if they pop into your house?
Yeah, well, that's fine. As long as, just remember, just as long as they bring something for tea, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So every now and again I come across this stuff on TikTok, and they've got hearings, like congressional hearings or whatever you want in the US, where they're declassifying these files.
Yeah.
And the people are asking them questions, and basically what they're saying is, these Navy pilots on a regular basis see something. What it is,
nobody knows.
Well, they do explain what it is, but I'm not going to make a pronouncement on, that is alien or it's from another planet or whatever, but they are seeing things that theoretically we are unfamiliar with. Some silver sphere hovering in the middle of over the Pacific Ocean, and they cruising at, I don't know, Mach 1 or whatever, and all of a sudden this thing outstrips them, 10 to 1 kind of thing. So, there have been lots of those accounts. And who in their right, and this is what, now, is that true or not? Well, here you've got a well-respected major or lieutenant or whatever his rank is.
Obviously, when he was flying, he wasn't high.
Well, clearly. And
maybe he was high physically, but.
Yeah, no, high altitude, not high as in consciousness.
Yeah.
The thing is that why would anyone that is well respected like these guys are
like that
go and publicly say, yes, I've seen this on multiple occasions? The other question that they asked them, and I can't remember exactly who the person was that they were talking to, and they asked them, the question was, did they have technology that was not created on this planet? They said yes. Did you recover technology? No? Yes.
You're joking.
Yep. Do you have biological matter? So I suppose a body or some biological matter. And the answer was yes. Yeah. So, okay, I'm open-minded about it. Okay, cool. I'm not now, because I've heard that running around saying, oh, it's true. Repent. The world's coming to an end.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, oh, well, that's interesting. It's still under the banner of entertainment for the moment.
That's pretty cool.
When you start seeing multiple, bits of evidence around this, and you start seeing this stuff physically and all that kind of stuff, and they've got it in the Smithsonian, and I can go visit it and look at it through the display cabinet, then maybe I'll be a little bit more convinced.
So what does can I ask you, like, what does the classification of these files means? It just means it's going to be public hearings, and
Yeah, basically, it
they're
just
not going to
means.
basically dump a UFO in the middle of like
No, well, I don't know. Maybe they will
Smithsonian
one day.
and basically.
Yeah, no, they're having these conversations. They're asking me questions, but there is a thing there. I don't know. It's like almost like claiming the Fifth Amendment or whatever. When they ask them a question, like some of the questions they ask, they will say, "Oh no, I will only disclose that in," and they've got some name. So basically, it's almost like a private hearing, as I understand it. Right.
Yeah.
And when they were asking this guy about, oh, have you seen these things when you're flying and all that kind of stuff, and he was confirming it.
Yeah.
The lady then asked a question about, okay, and what about in the ocean? Are you aware of any things in the ocean that, like fall into the same category as, what you're talking about, UFOs and all that kind of stuff? And that's when he said, no, well, I prefer to answer that question in a private hearing. So your question goes, huh? Really? Why? It's a simple yes or no answer. And the easiest one is no.
Yeah.
But the guy's like, oh, well, I'd actually prefer to answer that behind closed doors. Which means what? They've got something?
Yeah.
Here's another bizarre thing that I came across on TikTok the other day. And I've seen this guy a couple of times, and I've been meaning to take the time to go and do some background research on this guy and see where he comes from. But it's like almost, he was working for some government department. He was based at Antarctica.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, and I don't want to be spreading rumors and fear-mongering. I'm just relaying what I heard on the TikTok.
The most trustworthy source.
Well, not no, I'm just saying, I would never want to be the one that's the conspiracy theorist, spreading these things. So I'm just relaying what this guy said.
Yeah.
And, whether I believe it or not is, that's another question. I'll ask you for your opinion now. So what he was saying is that he was based at Antarctica, and they'd built this, from what I understand it is, it's almost like a space telescope. And I think what it's doing is monitoring frequencies that are coming from space, from the universe.
I can explain that.
Okay, so how it works is he said he's got these like silver spheres that they've buried in the ice in a like sort of matrix. And then they use that to pick up signals. And you would imagine, okay, well, that makes sense because, Antarctica, it's like the arse end of the world, no cell phone signal interference, and, you can, maybe justify why they did it there. But then he said, well, actually, there's something not so great about this thing because they've actually worked out they can use it as a weapon. You say, huh? Okay, how do they use that as a weapon? So apparently it has the ability to send out pulses or pulse energy or whatever, and they could use it as a weapon. And apparently when they tested it, they realized that it actually creates earthquakes. And he said, this is what he said, is that those Christchurch earthquakes a couple of years ago in New Zealand were caused by them testing that thing. Now, I'm not like saying, yes, see, they're keeping all the stuff from us. I'm not conspiracy theory. I'm just saying, well, that's curious. I'm interested. That sounds interesting. Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. So I heard a lot of the theories about the fact that various governments and countries have developed ways to basically weaponize sort of natural events.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're at that stage yet. And that's because I'm deeply involved in that space and understand that space pretty well.
Yeah.
I kind of understand what they're doing when it comes to basically monitoring radio waves and signals and stuff, and understand how these type of radio telescopes can be used as a weapon, but it's can be used more as a weapon in electronic warfare capabilities in terms of actually creating dead zones and because it's configured to receive signal, but you can also configure it to transmit signal.
Transmit, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like once you basically configure it to transmit signal, if the array that you're using is big enough, you basically create a dead zone for both like GPS and various other frequencies, you know. And once you create a dead zone, it becomes EW, electronic warfare weapon system, right? But I don't really buy by the whole narrative about the earthquakes. Okay, the Christchurch one, kind of understandable. New Zealand is sitting on the subduction zone, same as Japan. So it's the frequency of earthquakes in that environment, as well as like Turkey, on which is sitting on a collision zone between three different plates. The frequency of earthquakes in these zones. You scared me there.
I scared myself.
You scared me there.
I almost spilled my coffee.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But Antarctica is a pretty cool place from a perspective that there's no interference, very little noise. So on that side, on that note, we're also going to basically, I think the project's already started, SKA. It's going to be a radio telescope in the Northern Cape. It's not going to be just one. It's going to be an array of like 100 radio telescopes. Yeah. But it's just simply going to be monitoring the skies and monitoring basically the signals that's coming from the space and basically monitoring objects that basically pass Earth in close vicinity.
Yeah. So this thing is called the Ice Cube Neutrino Detector.
Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory. It's in the South Pole.
Yeah, Antarctica spots first high-energy neutrinos emitted from our own Milky Way galaxy. But I saw there was something here about the conspiracy. But anyway, I found the guy, one of his videos on TikTok, so I'll send it through to you.
Send it through. Conspiracy.
See what they say about the conspiracy. Is there a conspiracy? Ice Cube, neutrino.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, but that's what I typed. I want to see if there's a neutrino conspiracy. Yeah, simply the Ice Cube. Beware of your ice cubes. Thousands of sensors located under the ice, distributed over a cubic kilometer, similar to the predecessor. Construction, sub-detectors, experimental goals. Just trying to see if there's something to do with the conspiracy. I don't see anything.
Maybe in references?
Shots if you see anything.
I think just search for it. Just press.
Yeah, I did search.
Search the page, the actual.
Yeah. Okay, I suppose I can do that.
Control F. Yeah.
Yeah, I need
And
to
say
remember how.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Anyway, that's something to look into. On the Formula One side, not much happening because it's the summer break. So let's see what happens when they kick ass again.
Your expectations.
But now I have to say one thing, and I mean, this is what the kind of things that irritate me sometimes, right?
Okay.
So now there's this whole thing that they speculating that the FIA is going to find a way to minimize Red Bull and Max Verstappen's dominance. Because, they say it's not great. I don't know. They'll find a way. But what I don't understand is, I don't remember.
What are they going to do? Are they going to kneecap the guy or what?
No. What they do is they find out what is the thing that's making Red Bull so dominant. So there might be some aerodynamic thing that they've developed that the other cars don't have, that's giving them the upper edge.
Yeah.
And then they'll ban that. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I don't understand is, I don't remember them having this conversation during, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember hearing this kind of conversation when Lewis was dominating.
No.
Let's not forget that Mercedes won 7 championships in a row.
So do you think it's FOMO?
It's just like, okay, but why didn't you do it when Lewis and Mercedes were dominating?
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting for me is that F1 always goes through these stages. It goes through the stage where like a team and a driver dominates the F1 for
I understand that, but the thing
for
is,
a few years, and
yeah.
then there's like a shake-up.
Okay,
until
but
the
how
next
long?
one.
But this is my point. They're already talking about this. Red Bull's only won one world championship in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Right, which was last year. Max has only won 2 in the last 2 years. Already they're having this conversation.
Do you think it's about F1 or I think it's about the business of F1? Because like from the business perspective, it's good for the business to always have drama and always have competition.
Yeah.
Because like once you get to the stage of like one team or one driver dominating, it's like it becomes boring and
Okay,
people
but
generally
don't you
not tune
think?
in.
But don't you think when you've got one team dominating,
Yeah.
that it really, really creates the incentive for the other teams to find innovative ways to get up to the same speed as Red Bull?
True.
Whereas when it's all pretty much the same, yeah, they're all trying to outdo one another, but the advancements are very small,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know. I really don't know, but I just don't understand why only after one world championship so far, because something could go wrong with Red Bull. They might all of a sudden develop engine problems. They might have reliability problems. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's not like they've got this championship in the bag, right? They can't rest on their laurels. You know, they can't stop racing today and not join any race for the until the end of the year and win the championship, right? So it's not like you can say they've got this championship in the bag yet. It looks like they're pretty much going to, but it's not cast in stone. They've only won one championship, and already they're talking about, okay, how can we make sure that they're not dominating? I mean, for Pete's sake. So let's say next year, something happens dramatically and McLaren finds the sweet spot for their car for 2024.
Yeah.
And at this time of the year, during the year, they're dominating. Are they also going to be having the same conversation and saying, "Oh, we better do something because McLaren's dominating"? I mean, I just think it's so ludicrous.
No, but I think the focus is going to be like shifting to creating a great show and attracting the audience. I'm just saying because F1 is a business in the end of the day. So,
and then why don't they introduce some sort of, I don't know if it's possible in motorsport, some sort of handicap system if they really want to level the playing field. I don't know.
I think
I don't know.
The issue is like once you start going into the whole handicapping system, it's like where is it going to stop? It's not going to stop.
Yeah.
So it's like it's other level playing field in a sense of rules and regulations, etc., etc. Like fuel, tires used, etc. In terms of the car aerodynamics and engine, that's manufacturers.
But I mean, if they're going to keep on doing this, I can tell you what the teams will start doing.
Slacking.
They will slack off.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, they will.
That makes sense, though.
They will say to Max, okay, Max, next year, or the next. Let's say they do implement something that affects their sort of package, aero package on their racing car.
Yeah.
Next year they'll say to Max, listen, Max, the rule is you can't finish more than 4 seconds ahead of the guy behind you. Right? And they'll always have the extra performance in the bag, in their pocket. So that if, let's say, they're on the back foot for some reason, say, Max doesn't qualify in the top 3.
I'm against that because we're getting into a scenario of manufactured outcomes.
Well, exactly. That's what I don't understand. And that's why I say
defeats the whole nature of the sport.
In comparison to Mercedes' dominance, After 7 years, they weren't saying, "Oh, geez, we need to find something to make sure that they're not so dominant." Why now with Red Bull?
People
It's
don't
crazy.
like Max.
Clearly.
I don't know.
Clearly.
I don't know. Okay, so as a like a last segue in terms of competition, like I know you're not huge in like the whole fighting scene, but I want to get your take on
Elon Musk.
versus Mark.
I
Is it going to
want to
happen?
see it happen.
Number one, is it going to happen? And then number
I think
two,
I think
Is
they've
it
created an
really-
expectation.
is it really going to happen in the Coliseum
Yeah.
in Rome?
I think if they were joking in the beginning, I think it'll get to the point where they're going to realize that there's so many people interested in this, they'll do it.
Do you think they'll pack
Yeah.
a Coliseum?
I think they would.
Okay.
I think they would. Why wouldn't they? I mean, I reckon people would. I mean, if you've got people that are, I mean, even like Jake Paul, who's a YouTuber or whatever. I mean, everyone was, I mean, up for him. This thing keeps, I don't know what's beeping like that. Anyway. Maybe it's my, geez, you see the crypto markets is like, Bitcoin dropped by fucking,
What is it sitting on?
yeah, it's sitting on $25,000. It
That's
was,
not bad.
well, it was sitting at 29 the other day. Let me just see. I was quite shocked at how much it's dropped. Let's see here, Bitcoin. Bitcoin has dropped 11% in the last 7 days.
Yeah, it's going off the cliff.
So yeah, it's sitting at just under $26,000. I wonder what's driving that. Because I see the what's that SEC that's been trying to take Ripple on, or they were saying that they're saying that they're going to go back to court or something, and I wonder if that's affected the crypto market.
I think it's
Because Ethereum's down 10%, SHIB Inu is down 21%.
I think it's basically what's his name, the movements in Federal Reserve raising interest rates. It's basically how the money moves.
Yeah, but you would think that would I don't know what's. I mean, I'm amazed that the crypto market also tracks the sort of stock market. So when the stock market is struggling, so is the crypto market.
So the two are intrinsically interlinked, right? So it's like, so think about it this way: if you right now, right, if you take your, let's say, Bitcoin, cash it in, and put it in the money market, you get 5.5% interest rate on it, right? So like without doing nothing, it's just you basically taking the cash and moving it to the money market, and you're getting constant 5.5% interest.
Yeah.
You can basically buy government bonds, like if you're obviously based in the US, and that will at long term, short term, medium term, but you can even go for like a monthly bonds, right? And you basically get your 5.5%. I mean, it's like, why not?
But I mean, what I find interesting is that on the stock market,
I'm surprised more banks in the US hasn't collapsed, because it doesn't make, like, from my perspective, it doesn't make sense for anyone to keep money in the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Why? If you're getting 1-2% interest on like a typical bank account, right? Or savings bank account or investment bank account, and then you're getting 5.5 in the money market, it's just no brainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just want to see here.
So the scary thing is, like, I don't think the interest rate hikes are finished yet.
Oh God. Jeez, dude, my bond repayment's gone up. Jeez, dramatically.
Yeah. I know, but they're not done and we're not done, because we're going to mimic, like, South Africa's going to mimic exactly what the US Fed is doing. So the scary thing, just think about it, right? A year and a half ago, the interest rate in the US was 0.5%.
Sure. And what's it sitting at now?
5.5.
Yes.
Now, think about it this way, right? Like, what if you took a big mortgage loan on variable interest? And initially you took it on let's say, just under 1%, and now your interest rate is sitting on 6%.
Hectic, dude. Hectic. I mean, I've got the same. Yeah. I mean, what's our interest rate sitting at? Like, I think the repo rate's just under 10%.
No,
So
I think it's over.
let's see what the repo rate is. Repo rate. Yeah, what's the current repo rates? What's the difference?
Okay, no, you're right. It's 8.25%.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
8.25%. I thought it was just under 10.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, so anyway. So another thing I wanted to chat about was 4-day work week. So they, they've been conducting a exercise in South Africa with some South African companies. I think 25 signed up.
Is basically yours participating?
No. So most of the ones that are participating are, I suppose you could classify them medium-sized businesses.
Okay, there's no
The
large
big-
corporations like
I didn't
banks
see-
or like.
I didn't see, I must admit, I didn't look at the entire list, but I looked at sort of like the top, and they're like tax consultants and a lot of tax lawyer kind of things. But what I found quite interesting is, when you think about the 4-day work week, we all go, okay, so I work Monday to Thursday and I take Friday off. I work Tuesday to Friday and take Monday off. But I actually see that a lot of these companies have been quite creative about how they implement the 4-day work week. So 4-day work week, you're looking at what? So if you're normally working a 45-hour week, what they're doing is I think a 4-day work week would be 80% of the normal thing. So what's that in hours? I don't know.
Isn't that 32 hours?
32 hours, yeah. So 32 hours. So how they do it is they say, okay, you've got a 32-hour work week. So not necessarily a 4-day work week. Well, I suppose it's 4-day work week, but it's not in the traditional way that we think about it. It's like Monday to Thursday or Tuesday to Friday. What they do is they say, okay, you can take a half day on one day and you can work 2 hours less for the other days. So instead of working 8 hours a day, you're working 6 hours a day. And then on one day, you take a half day.
Or like on Friday, for example.
Yeah,
like
Friday or Monday.
That's
And then what they do is
That's
they
pretty interesting.
stagger the team. So there's coverage Monday to Thursday and Tuesday to Friday for those people that take half days on those days, Monday
That's
or
pretty
Friday.
interesting.
Yeah. So, because we had a conversation within our company this week in our department, and they were saying, someone asked about the 4-day work week. And there's, no, we don't think that's feasible because, people are going to be away the whole day on one day. But that's the point is that you can actually implement it in different ways. Yeah. So, but I mean, I was hoping that, that I could get into a 4-day work week situation. I read the book, who's the author, Tim Ferriss, I think it was. I was really interested in doing that to allow myself to have a day that I could, do my, over and above my weekend, a day to do the, my self-sustaining hobbies, if you want to call it that. And, but now with the hybrid working environment that I find myself in, the 4-day working week is not as it's not really like a big thing for me anymore because of the fact that I've got this hybrid working environment that I work in. I've got that flexibility, and I'm at home at least 3 days of the week, maybe 4 days of the week, going into the office 1 to 2 days a week. And that allows me to do the kind of things that I would have wanted to do on the 4-day work week. Whether it's like 3D printing, and 3D printing as well. Basically, you just schedule your print in between load shedding, obviously. And all you really need to do is you just want to be able to keep an eye on it just to make sure that while it's printing, that it's still printing okay.
Yeah.
Because, to save time, if it's if you can see that it's going wrong, you're going to stop it, make your tweaks, and start it again. So all you really need to do is just keep an eye on it, right? So I can do that while I'm working my normal day, and it doesn't interfere with my normal work day. When I'm grabbing a cup of coffee, I can just eyeball the print and say, oh, okay, that's still printing okay. And then, have my coffee and get back to work. So, yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the 4-day work week? And, I mean, in terms of your sort of the amount of time, the amount of effort that you need to put into tick your boxes in terms of productivity and delivery and all that kind of stuff. What do you think of the 4-day work week?
So, like, in my space,
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work.
Okay.
Because there's not enough time in the day already.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Like, we do need to hire more people. So
yeah.
it's like,
I mean,
it's unavoidable. But from the medium enterprise perspective, I think that's the most sustainable solution. But I would, like, in terms of my priorities, right? I would prefer fully remote working environments, number one, which is like
pretty much what you're doing.
What I have, yeah. Number two is, like, once you have fully remote working environment, you have quite a lot of flexibility in terms of when you do basically the workload that you need to do and how you do it, how you get through it. That flexibility is gold.
Absolutely.
That flexibility is gold because you can do so many things. You can basically study. You can basically get into a really good fitness routine. All of a sudden, you have more time. You can't deny that the fact that you have more time, because now you're basically not spending half an hour commuting to work in the morning and then half an hour in the evening. So you basically just bought yourself, in a typical working week, 5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours. 5 hours is a lot of time. You can do a lot with 5 hours. And think about
Yeah.
it, that's 5 hours a week. In a month, that's 20 hours. That's a day.
Yeah. So the interesting outcome of this exercise that they're doing is that the companies that have instituted the 4-day work week, in whichever mechanism they've decided to do it, is that they've obviously monitored productivity quite closely, because I suppose that's one of the sort of metrics that you would follow. And they have not seen any reduction in productivity.
You know what there's going to be, like, my perspective? Well, there's a huge benefit for, like, a 4-day work week while keeping the remuneration the same. It's like a factory style environment.
Okay.
Because it's much easier to keep your concentration and focus on this thing that you need to do for 6 hours than for 8 hours. It's like we're all human. Your concentration naturally slips.
Yeah.
Things like driving heavy machinery, these environments are, like, kind of a lot more conducive, because it will not just have a really good impact on people's just, like, well-being.
Yeah.
It will also have a good impact on safety in the workplace.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and what they've said is that they're tracking other metrics like employee morale and, that kind of stuff. And they're saying that that's actually increased. I mean, like, my morale has increased because of the hybrid working sort of setup. Because I must admit, I'm not the biggest fan of going to the office for various
reasons. Can I ask you, like, what is the rationale for the hybrid? Why not basically just go all remote?
Well, I suppose the encouragement to come into the office at least once a week. I suppose the most common answer that I get around that is being able to have face-to-face conversations with people. So from my point of view, I suppose it really depends on your personality, but I am the kind of person that's very comfortable working 100% remotely, and I can still maintain the level of engagement with people via the tools that we have, the Teams of the world and the Zooms of the world. I can quite happily operate within that environment, chuck my camera on, I can have a really good conversation with someone, and that works. But then there's a lot of people say, oh, I don't like putting my camera on, and etc. So well, that's that's your thing. But I mean, I don't believe that to be able to communicate and collaborate with someone effectively, that you have to be face to face. What I find is that if you're doing it in an online environment, and obviously this really, again, depends on how you manage it. Like you encouraged when you have meetings, face-to-face meetings in the office. Back in the day, they would have a list of things there. Okay, this is how to conduct an effective meeting, right? Invite the right people, have an agenda, make the appropriate notes or minutes or whatever during the meeting. Make sure that you end off the meeting with action plans, like, so what are the next steps?
Yeah.
So like everyone's on the same page, right? And I think that's a lot more effective, and from a productivity point of view and management of time, I feel I've got a lot more control over that than if I'm in the office. Because what happens, you land up in being in a meeting, or you're in between meetings, or you're in the office, and you spend a large amount of time chin wagging with people that has no positive impact on your productivity or getting your work done. Okay, so I find it very disruptive to go into the office, because I literally, when I say I don't get any work done, I don't get my normal work done. Right.
Can I ask you besides the whole working in the office, how much time do you spend in the meetings a week? Just rough ballpark.
Dude, I can, at least half of my week is meetings.
No way. How's that
no
possible?
Joking.
When do you actually do what you need to do?
I generally start at 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
I start doing my work.
So you literally spend, okay, let's just say under half of your working time in the meetings.
That is correct. That is the correct answer. So if I was to show you, what's the easiest way to do this? For some reason, it's not getting my work calendar. I could show you what my work calendar looked like this past week. And
well, look,
generally every day.
It honestly sounds like you're running Fortune 500 company with like 50,000 employees and multiple departments, hundreds of different stakeholders, and yeah.
Well, I think there's another issue that's in my specific environment that has cropped up, that has become, and I'm sure there are lots of things that have contributed to this, but what I find now post-COVID is that I'm busy with more projects simultaneously than I was before.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. Now, I don't think it's a COVID-related thing, so it's, there's no correlation between the fact that we had COVID and this has happened. My assessment of the situation is that information security has become a large ticket item in the workspace, especially now that we are moving a lot of things into the cloud and so on and so on. So the governance processes around that has resulted in more work that needs to be done, more steps that you need to get through successfully to get something implemented within, and I'll use the Azure environment
as an example.
So what that means is that, so now I need to make a submission to a particular body that is going to assess my high-level design document of what I want to implement. They're going to look at all the resources that I'm creating and connecting to.
Yep.
And they're looking at that from the point of view of, okay, is this secure? Is this configured correctly?
Yeah.
So on and so on and so on. So what I do is I put that document together and I send it off to their board. Okay, and then I need to wait for my slot. Almost like the tender board process kind of thing. You submit your documents and then they'll say, okay, there's a slot for you on this day in this meeting and you've got 15 minutes to present or 10 minutes to present. So I've got to wait for that. So then you maybe wait a week and then you go and you have your 15 minutes or whatever. And then they'll say, okay, but there's a problem here. You need to address this. And have you thought about this? And let's say you haven't, or they highlight something and they say, okay, that's fine, but this needs to be made more secure. Then you've got to go away, work it out with a layer, resubmit. Already now you 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the thing. And then during that, someone else says to you, hey, listen, I've got this problem. Can you please help me? You say, well, okay, I've got a bit of capacity now. And you start helping them. And then obviously you have your challenges there, whatever it is. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm like working on 6 different projects at the same time.
Wow.
And you moving each one of them incrementally.
Wow. Yeah.
Over time, and what I find difficult with that is that, and then with each of those projects, you've got meetings that are associated because you're not the only you're not working in isolation. So you're always working with other people across teams, across, and so so on, because there are all these different dependencies. Because what they've back in the day, say 10 years ago, literally I could do everything. I had access to turnkey stuff, yeah. But over the years, what they've done is they've centralized stuff, and they say, okay, you don't have access to do this anymore, and you can use, these are the people that will assist you now going forward to do that, like the support center kind of thing. So they do all the sort of like configuration, and again, a lot of this is in the context of cloud. So provisioning resources in Azure are done by a particular team. It's not me. I don't have access. I can't even see it. So I can't even go and eyeball it. And so what's happening is that you become very isolated now. So, this is all that you do, right? And if you need anything outside of that, even though you have the capability and, you used to have the experience because you were up to date with how these things were working and all that kind of stuff, I'm starting to lose touch of those things because I don't get to play with them. Right. Mm-hmm. So then, even in the development environment, we can't provision anything in the development. It has to go through that body. And so I think it is a bit of a handbrake on things, and it's created a situation where you're now working on multiple things at the same time.
And you have tons of meetings to basically.
Yeah, and then you have tons of meetings because, they're all project based and, they're tracking timelines and so on, and you got to meet on a regular basis. So if I'm working on 5 simultaneous projects and you have a weekly meeting on each of those projects, that's at least, that's 5 meetings already.
Wow.
Just on that. And then obviously, that's the larger group. And then there might be spin-offs from, the tasks that are assigned to you within those meetings. There's like spin-off stuff. So then you might need to meet with another person in the same meeting, but in another meeting because, the other greater group of people are not directly involved in that little task that you're doing. And then you now have to set up a separate meeting to do more of a deep dive, more technical deep dive. Yeah. So now all of a sudden now you're at 10 meetings if you've got one task in each one of those projects that you're busy with, and you need to engage with someone outside of the weekly project meeting. Okay, so now that's 10 meetings. And then if you've got 2 tasks out of one project and you need to engage with 2 separate people on each of those tasks, now you're at 15 meetings. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And the meeting might be 10 or 15 minutes or half an hour. But my experience is I see often people book a 30-minute meeting. And I'll respond to them and I'll say, listen, 30 minutes is not enough. Because I know, based on my experience, that we're going to start talking about these things. We're going to go, through this iterative process to work out, okay, what's the best way to do this? And 30 minutes is not enough, right?
30 minutes.
It might be 45 minutes.
6 people in the meeting is 5 minutes per person.
Yeah. And already that's just doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah.
So, and it's this like sort of like snowball effect. And then the thing that I struggle with is this whole task swapping thing. Because, depending on the kind of work that you're doing, but like what I'm doing is that like you got to get your brain in a particular mode and then you got to work through something systematically. Yep. And if you've got like half an hour between meetings, it's so difficult to get into that mode.
I'm with you.
Start making traction. Then you've got to get your head ready for the meeting. Because I mean, I'm not the type of person that can pull into a meeting unprepared. Like I almost just got to get my head around, okay, what's the expected outcome of this meeting? Okay, what is it that I need to report on? Because obviously there's a lot of progress tracking. So I need to be able to say, okay, that task and that task and that task, this is my feedback, this is my feedback. Okay, and these are the next steps, ding, ding, ding. So like you got to prepare your mind for that. So you can't just like on the hour pull into the meeting and go, okay,
ding,
kind of thing.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because like it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of like moving parts that are constantly moving and a lot of different stakeholders.
Yeah.
And you guys are obviously part of the whole Microsoft ecosystem of tools. And what plugin and tools do you use to project manage stuff? Like, what do you use? Do you use a plugin in Teams for Trello, Asana, or like?
So all those tools are available.
Mm-hmm. But which one is your most favorite in terms of like?
My own personal tracking.
Your own personal tracking?
Yeah. Tool. Because, this is the thing. This is what I find very interesting about these kind of concepts, whether it's, normal project management principles, whatever tools you're using, Microsoft Project or whatever, Asana like you were talking about. Then you've got the software development lifecycle, and you've got the waterfall method, and you've got the agile method, and you start talking about sprints and scrums.
I know, like in
that stuff.
In big corporate space, people love agile. Like,
but they talk agile.
Yeah.
Right, and this is what I always find interesting. And I mean, obviously, being in the sort of software development space, people speak about the software development cycle. Okay, that's a common thing. That is a standard thing that you talk about in sort of software development or product development, system development. The only time I hear anyone mention that acronym is when I go for an interview. So they'll ask you about the software development cycle. They'll talk to you about
agile,
pros and cons of the waterfall method, and the pros and cons of agile and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I hear people speak about it. And so when you go back to your day-to-day job, effectively, I think people are just winging it. Not really, because the thing is that it's not like it's spoken about on a regular basis. Yeah, I work in a team where we do sprints and everything, but we're not looking at burn down rates and all that kind of stuff, right? Because the thing is, if you do a sprint, right, you do your sprint planning, you decide on the tasks that you're going to do and you decide on what the duration of your sprint is. It could be 1 week, it could be 2 weeks, it could even be 3 weeks, maybe even a month. But I think when you start knocking at 3 weeks and a month, you're losing the benefit of having a sprint. Because what's the sprint? It's a sprint. So in other words, what you're going to do is this is what you are going to focus on for the next 2 weeks, right? So you have your sprint planning. You decide on what your tasks are for that sprint that you are going into, and then you bang on those tasks. And at the end of the sprint, you have like a retrospective or an after action review or whatever you want to on your last sprint, and you're planning for your next sprint. The problem with that is the environment that we work in. We are not, that's not the only work that we're working on.
I'm with you.
Right. So I don't have the ability to focus 100% on those tasks that
project that you're driving.
Yeah, that I've committed to in that sprint, right? So, and then also the thing is that, like you say, so what happens is if you look at if you're using something like DevOps, Microsoft DevOps to manage your sprint, there's always a graph at the top right-hand side of that thing that shows you what your burn down rate is and all that kind of stuff. So at the beginning of the sprint, it's like at the top there. So, and what it's based on is the number of hours that you've allocated to each of the tasks for each of the members in the team. So it's it's a summary of that, right? So So then as you're working, and every day when you're having your stand-up meeting, because that's another thing that's part of the sprint, is that you have a stand-up meeting every day. And effectively, it's supposed to be a quick meeting. It's just basically update.
This is what's happening. This is where I am.
Yeah, and what you're really trying to work out is, are there any roadblocks? And as a team, can you help one another to get past those roadblocks? In other words, you're talking about things that are holding you back from making your due dates on those particular tasks. So what happens is, every day when you have your sprint and people are giving their updates. So let's say I said at the task, okay, when I'm sprint playing, my task is going to take me 4 hours to do this particular task. And on the day I say, okay, please make that card active because I'm working on that today. And it says, okay, you're going to spend 6 hours on it. And let's say that's the only thing. Let's say I've got 2 tasks. One was 6 hours and another one's 2 hours. So that's my 8-hour day allocated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and let's take out the fact that I've got other work to do.
And all other meetings that you...
Yeah, and all other meetings. And often people forget to put the meetings or the collaboration tasks on the board. So that's not even accounted for. Mm-hmm. So every every stand-up meeting, you're going to go in there and say, okay, that task that I worked on yesterday, theoretically, I should have finished it, right?
Yeah.
Or if, let's say, it's 2 tasks and let's say they're 6 hours each, I would expect that I would have spent maybe 4 hours on the one and 4 hours on the other. The next day when I have my stand-up meeting, each one of those tasks should go down to 2 hours left, right?
Yeah.
And you should see your burn down rate. And basically what that's indicating is, are you on track? Because at the end of your sprint, your graph should be at the bottom.
Yeah.
Started here, ends here.
Yeah.
But the problem is you've got so many other things that you're busy with. A lot of this stuff is ad hoc. So in other words, I've got my 6 projects that I'm working on. I'm tracking them using the sprint methodology or the agile methodology for one of the projects or whatever. Then on top of that, I do support as well. So I'm not only doing development, I'm doing support. So I can't guess what support calls I'm going to get during the week.
I'm telling you, dude, like you're running a Fortune 500.
Yeah, dude. No, well, I just don't think it's been managed properly because I don't think that I think we could improve our productivity if we just manage the resources better.
So you know what my secret is? Determine the one most critical project aspect that you need to fast track a day. Yeah. One most critical project aspect. If minimize the amount of meetings that you have, maximize the asynchronic communication, because in the end of the day, like different people have different ultimate focus and productivity times. Some people can be really, really good in early hours in the morning, and that's where most of their creative work actually is being done. It's being done. Some people are really great in the afternoon or in the evenings.
Sure.
It's like, and that's their peak time. So, but you kind of need to like determine one critical thing and one auxiliary thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. The rest of the ad hoc stuff, even if it comes up during the day, you basically add it to your notepad and you say, tackle it later. You need to get through this, so you don't actually get distracted. But
So the problem is, funny enough, I was actually reading an article during the week on how to improve your productivity and keep your motivation up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Get one thing done.
Yeah, that's it. They say at the beginning of the day, choose one thing that you want to get done today. Only one.
One thing, but you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed how good you're actually going to feel once you get that thing done.
And I mean that's the whole point, because that's what they're saying, is that you have this sense of achievement because you have this dopamine kick because you got something done. And I can say for myself, when am I in a good space? Well, I'm in a good space when have the ability to tick off the tasks that I've allocated for myself in a particular day. If I get to the end of the day and I didn't get, out of the 6 things that I had said I was going to do, I only got 2 done. Minor tasks, right? I just don't feel great. And it's it's difficult to
You
be
feel-
motivated
you
the next
feel
day.
the weight of the shoulders.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
exactly. Exactly.
Are you in this constant catch-up zone?
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%.
And I'm very conscious of the fact that I can't just choose one thing to get done in a day,
Yeah.
because the problem is there are so many things that need to be moving forward, right? That if I'm only focusing on trying to get one thing done and some smaller task in between, but one big thing done, the other stuff is going to suffer. Other stuff is going to fall behind, because, like I said, because you're in the phase where you are depending on other people, or you in collaborating with other people to get stuff done. I mean, if they've sent me something to say, please, can you test this? I can't not, if I don't action it today and give them the feedback, so that if there's a problem that they can go back and investigate it. If I leave it for a day, if I miss a day, then effectively I'm losing a day,
Yeah. I'm with you.
right? Because that person's waiting for me. When I give him the feedback, then he might need to go do something. So I'm also putting him out by a day. So it's very difficult, and
it's complicated.
yeah,
It's complicated.
Yeah,
It's not easy.
complicated. It's not easy, and I think and I mean, I try and manage myself as best I can, and try and do the best that I can. But it's a constant struggle, because you're fighting with the mental aspect of this thing, of this not feeling like you're making any progress.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Look, I mean, and I've found a way to combat that to an extent, but it's not a foolproof thing. Is that if I've got a big task that I know that I'm not going to be able to dedicate 2-3 hours solid
Yeah.
to that thing in a day, because it's just impossible, because of the fact that of these meetings, you're jumping off a meeting, you've got half an hour, and you've got another meeting, or you've got back-to-back meetings the whole morning, which is what I wanted to show you on my calendar, is that this whole week, every day, I had meetings back to back from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Every day,
Yeah.
right?
That's hectic. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. So
Okay, can I paint you an opposite picture?
please do.
I spend 15 minutes a day in the meetings. 15 minutes.
Oh my God, you're
It's
making me
literally-
envious.
It's literally 15 minutes. Like, we would have a team meet on various projects, and we would generally will not pick all the projects. It's going to be one project or two projects tops that needs to be tied off, and basically discuss the plan. This is what needs to happen, who's doing what, how it's being done, and basically the next stage, which is submission of the project and the invoicing. That's it. 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes, and it's done.
Yeah.
On
So
that happy
I
note.
don't look. I think there can be things that can be done better to alleviate it in my workspace. I mean, I've made the recommendations. I'm not too sure if they're going to be implemented, but I do have a solution to it to alleviate the problem. But yeah.
So our approach is that if it's not burning, and that's proverbially speaking, that's not literally right.
Yeah.
If it's not burning, asynchronous communications.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the thing, is that people are not comfortable using the tools that we've been provided. I think for me, Teams is a great collaboration tool. And if you use it correctly,
I don't understand that though.
a lot
right?
of these meetings that we have, or the feedback and the things that we are communicating on in these meetings, can be actioned and achieved in a collaborative space. And like you were saying, is that people are better at certain times of the day, and everyone plans their day differently. And I think that collaboration sort of workspace gives the people that are involved in a particular project the flexibility to action their items and give feedback on their items when they are available to do that. And I think you can still achieve what you would want to achieve in a meeting by calling a meeting, by having a workspace, a team channel or something that's dedicated to that particular project. you can communicate with everyone, or you can communicate with specific people in there. You can have documents in there. You can add apps in there that are project tracking the tasks for that particular project. People can make their updates as they are making them. You know, if you get into this sort of habit of updating things as you're working on them right now, not having to wait for the meeting to give the feedback. You can give the feedback right then and there. Like, if I'm working on a task and I finish that task and I need to communicate that with the people, if 15 minutes of that task is the providing the updates, then, because remember, I'm tracking the stuff in my own personal stuff, right? So when I get into the meeting, I'm referring to that to give the feedback. But now effectively it's double accounting in a way. Because it's double work, because I've made the updates in my document, right? And then I've had to give the exact same feedback to the people in the meeting. If I transition from updating my document to updating the document that's in that collaborative space, and we don't have a meeting, I only had to do it once, not twice.
You save tons of time.
I save tons of time. And how many of those meetings are you sitting listening to other people's feedback, right? That's got no impact on you, no direct impact on you. It's good to be aware of the work, but you sitting there idly for 20 minutes waiting for your 5 minutes or 10 minutes of feedback. But you're sitting through 20 minutes. However, if I was to say, well, depending on how you structure your day, is like, well, I will look at that feedback as and when it comes through, or when I'm busy with a task, when I have my coffee, I can sit down and have my coffee and read the people's update, right? On my own time. And I'm not sitting idly, not actually, working on my work. Why, because I'm sitting in a meeting listening to other people's feedback, there's got no impact on what I'm doing. It's good to have line of sight.
I'm with you.
But it's not. But people don't seem to be, everyone wants to do it the old school way. Lots of meetings, lots of emails, not this like sort of short,
streamlined, agile communication style.
Yeah, exactly.
Agile.
Exactly.
Just keep it
agile. Yeah. Keep
on
it
that
simple.
happy note.
Yeah, I think we must end off because we're
running over.
Yeah, no, we're running over. But a good conversation, and I think these are the kind of conversations that we should be having.
We'll pick it up next week.
We'll pick it up next week.
Hopefully, none of us gonna be kidnapped by aliens.
Yeah, and
probed.
Yeah, probed. If you do, please let us know, because we really, really would like to hear your story. Right. Okay.
Not all the details, by the way.
Oh, you never know. You never know. Sometimes that floats people's boats. Cool, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Have a great weekend.